one that Karen recommended. Just look up Psalms that speak to you. And if it comes up with this beautiful kind of rainbowy, beautiful, you'll know it's the right one. What it is the Hebrew of the Psalms, all the Psalms. And then right underneath it, a beautiful translation, pasuk by pasuk. Oh, thank you. There we go. We got our research assistant right there. And it's right. And I think it's a nice translation and it feels nice. So as somebody who says Tehillim, I mean, it's also large enough print that you can read it. They should have made it bolded. That's too bad. They didn't bold the print, but it's nice enough that's not so big you can't take it with you, but it's also not so teeny that you can't read the script. At least that's what it looks like to me. So this is one very nice resource for Tehillim, because often when we go to say Tehillim, we don't know what we're saying. It's very hard to, even by the way, people who speak a fluent Hebrew, it's very poetic Hebrew. So it's not always so easy to understand. Sorry, that's one resource.
Does it include the Hebrew as well as the English?
Yeah. Each pasuk, each pasuk is written in Hebrew. Here, I'm going to actually spotlight myself so people can see what it is.
That's great.
Here we go. So you see, it has the pasuk in Hebrew or the phrase. Is it pasuk by pasuk? No, it's not. It's phrase by phrase, and then with the English right underneath it. The English is right underneath it, so you don't have to go look for it. You know how when it's side by side, you have to kind of match up the phrase with the English? This is very nice because it's done phrase by phrase, so you can parse it out better. Does that make sense? And then this is something I mentioned, but I haven't read from it yet. This is by a woman from our community, Geya Aronoff Bernstein. She called this Psalm Songs. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. And what she did was she wrote for each psalm in English. You can see that I've highlighted for myself certain psalms that I thought that I used to read. And for every one, please remind me if I forget, but for every psalm, I want to read what she wrote in English. It's not a translation. It's like, I guess, a commentary as well as a translation, because she wrote it in a lyrical way that encapsulated what does that psalm mean. So she called it Psalm Songs. By the way, she did the same thing in Hebrew, which sounds amazing. I have it. I just haven't had time to read it. So what do you call that when you paraphrase? So paraphrasing each psalm. This is just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And this is more about speaking to your heart, because it's not the psalm itself, but I think it's really beautiful. Okay, everybody with me on that? Great. Now let me say hello to everyone. Hello, Milton. Second time I'm seeing Milton today because we were at Chul together today.
Right.
Sue, are you doing better? Do you hear? Oh, no, they're still working on it. So have her make a phone call and listen to us on the phone, Helen. Hello, Lance, who's already been helpful. Thank you. Elaine, welcome. Arnie, if you didn't get to see Debbie enough, you get a chance to see her here. If anybody wants to know, they're related, they're husband and wife. Helen, welcome. Thank you for being helpful. Ellen, Judy, Faithful, Robert and Malka, although we only see Robert, but maybe he's Malka's doppelganger or something. Robert, Moshe, Phyllis, thank you for chiming in from up north in Buffalo. Arnie, Felice, and Karen. Okay, I'm actually going to read 121. Why not? In fact, we have a guest here. I'm going to let the guests read it. Why don't you read this is going to be, we started learning 121 last time. We'll go over it a little bit, but why don't you read what she wrote? Okay, you'll see it, and everybody make sure,
I lift my eyes to mountain skies and wonder where relief resides. I know that God made mountains, skies, and my belief in him abides. My God, the guard of Israel, will never sleep, won't let me fall. He watches me, protects me from the midnight moon, the noonday sun. He'll rescue you from random fate, restore your body and your soul. He is with you through birth and death as you come in and when you go.
Wow. Oof. Goosebumps. Isn't that beautiful? So now you have an example. It is the ideas that we already started learning and the ideas in Psalm 121, but she wrote it as a poem. Well, they are poems in Hebrew as well, but she wrote it a little differently. Okay. Susanna, can you ask the maintenance to turn, the lights are on? These lights maybe? Thank you. It's a little dark today. It's very cloudy. Okay. I need the Hebrew. Let me get a Hebrew copy for for myself, just a moment.
Do you want this copy?
No, either I'm getting it for you or me. So,
Okay.
either way, we need one. Much better, thank you. Shrouded in darkness. Okay, well, this way you can have an opportunity to see, but I think it's I think it's exactly what you were looking for, Debbie. That's what it feels like to me.
I want the other one too.
And the other one too. When that gives you a little commentary, sort of, by making it a song, but it's beautiful. And this is like the straightforward text. So just a moment. Luckily, they're all in order. 121. All right. It was 2 weeks ago because last week we had the book talk, which, by the way, the recording was put in the email today. For those who didn't have a chance to see it. I want to do a little bit of a recap of what we said, because we may have all forgotten, including me. So let's just go back around and say, who is familiar with Psalm 121? Kuf Kaf Aleph, just raise your hand. 1, 2. Anybody here never heard it, not familiar? Hello, Alice. Debbie's not familiar with it. Debbie, you got to come to Shulmore. No, I'm not calling you out. I know how busy your life is and how difficult that is. But the reason but why am I saying that? And I really meant it as a joke. It was not, I'm not like that. Is because it's said not only at times of trouble, but since October 7th, we've been reciting it every morning and evening. So I actually believe you have heard it. Right. You just didn't realize because you have been in Shul. And all you have to do is be in Shul once, sadly, since October 7th, and you will have heard Psalm 121, Kuf Kaf Aleph. And what was so interesting to me when I started reading about it and learning about it is that it's not necessarily the most obvious one. I think I'm gonna have to turn this, sorry, because it's just, apologize. Won't be able to get both of us. It's not actually an obvious go-to psalm for all the circumstances that we use it for. Just, that was a complicated way to say it. We use it for any times of trouble. It might be used for a sick person, although 130 is used more, which was even more interesting to me that it's not meant necessarily for a sick person. But what are the reasons that we said that we do use 121 so commonly? Does anybody remember some of the reasons we brought up for why might we use 121 as our go-to? Any thoughts about that?
I think it's very simple, actually.
It's very simple. Good.
It's comforting.
Oh, it's
comforting.
Okay, because it says God will guard us, will keep us, so it's comforting. That's beautiful. It's comforting. It's simple. I think what you mean by simple, first of all, it has many words that repeat themselves. So it's called that its lexicon is simple. And maybe the thoughts are also simple, but the words are simple. So even people who don't know Hebrew that well, I mean, if you don't know Hebrew at all, it might not help you. But if you know some Hebrew, it's relatively easy to follow. And it rolls off the tongue or trips off the tongue in an easy manner. Does that make sense to people? And of course, many Psalms, we can find similar philosophies, similar, what would be a good word for that? Similar, not values, but similar, what?
Similar sentiments?
Similar sentiments, yes.
Themes.
Or themes, that's the word. Thank you. Sentiment themes is the word really I was looking for. Thank you, Judy. So the similar themes, it's so often, I have a Tanakh at home that summarizes every few psukim in the whole Tanakh. In the English, it gives you like a header, a short title from the beginning of the Torah all the way through the whole Bible. And in Psalms, it repeats itself a lot, this header, this title. It's like it's hard to find new ways to summarize because, oh, it's about the nations of the world. Oh, you should believe in God. Oh, I have disbelief. Oh, I've been betrayed. The similar 10 to 20 themes are told in different are retold and recaptured in different ways in different psalms. But it's short. Some of the psalms are longer. So first of all, it's short, and it starts with two words that most of us are familiar with. Shir HaMa'alot. Actually, this one is Shir La Ma'alot. It's the only one of the 15 Shir HaMa'alot that starts with La Ma'alot. As a matter of fact, sometimes when people get up to say it, they don't even notice that they say Shir HaMa'alot, because that's the more common one, 14 out of the 15. And also because we say it before benching, Shir HaMa'alot B'shuv, right? So people might not even notice that they said Shir HaMa'alot rather than La Ma'alot. And I actually, one second. Oh no, that's for 130, so that's fine. Okay, I was just thinking because I was preparing for 121 and 130, and that the thought that went through my head was the 131, so I'm waiting on that. Okay.
You also said we often say it before going on a journey.
Thank you, Phyllis. So that was my next thought. So it's not that we say it. That's the thing. I think that's the crux of it, is what I'm trying to compare, is that the person, Yitzchak Eitz Shalom, who is really a brilliant commentator, very easy to listen to. He gives excellent classes. He's very like accessible. He teaches in a very easy manner to listen to. He was one of the first. Most of the commentaries, basically almost everybody. And Phyllis, you had a comment that I'm going to repeat because I found it very, very powerful, or you can repeat it. And he posits that if you really look at the words, it's not only that it's about a journey, but that actually it was the journey. It was the tefillah that was said before a journey. That he imagined that when somebody, oh, poor Sue, she's so frustrated. Helen, did you tell Sue to call and to listen? She could call my phone. No, I don't hear you right now.
I gave her the Zoom phone number.
Oh, that's another way. Okay, great. That's another option. Great. So, or tell her she can call my.
Or she can call mine and listen through that too. Okay.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking of the Zoom phone number. Okay, so he suggested, remember when people went on a journey, a physical journey, and why do we think, does everybody have a copy of the Psalm? I didn't even ask that. I just assumed, I'm sorry. Everybody should have a copy. It can be, it's in every Tanakh.
Yeah.
Every Tanakh has it because it's part of the Tanakh. You could find it online. We sent it a link to Svarya in the email today. So you can we're going to hopefully, yeah, Lance.
The word ascents refers to a physical climb. Refers to a physical climb to Jerusalem or the spiritual journey to God.
So yes, but not everybody agrees. Like those are interpretations. Like that's a commentary. And that we discussed that last time, that it could be aliyah, like going up to Jerusalem. We said it might be part of a few different psalms that talk about making aliyah, literally making aliyah. So we didn't get there yet. I just want to start with what Phyllis reminded us, that it's about a journey. So it could be any journey that people take. Like, do people here say Tfilat HaDerech when you go on a long journey? People familiar with it? It's called the Traveler's Prayer. Yeah, you say it. Felice, Arnie says, maybe the other, maybe Phyllis, maybe, I don't know. When you drive long distances, basically it's for when you get out of a city to an unpopulated area. When you go on an airplane, those are the time, but we have a set format for it. And what he suggested was maybe this psalm was said by people. So now let's imagine again, there's a person leaving their home. They're going on a journey. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? Now, one way of doing it is read it the whole way through as any journey, and then read it again as a soul's journey, S-O-U-L, not S-O-L-E, and then going through again and reading it as a life journey, which is what Phyllis suggested last time. I feel like it'll take us the whole class if we do it that way. So let's try to do it, think of the different ways of understanding it. Does that make sense to people? Like I'm journeying with you on how the best way to read Psalms, but this particular one really lends itself to any kind of journey. And it's so interesting that it's specifically really about a journey, yet we use it in so many different settings. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts if that still resonates with you once you've heard that it really is about a journey. So I want you to keep that thought in the back of your head. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? So that can be a physical journey. You could, when you're in an airplane and you look down, so then you don't look up at an airplane, you look up at the mountains, you look down, but you turn your eyes. In Hebrew, it's esa'inai, I lift my eyes. I can imagine if you're in an airplane, and we've known there have been lately, sadly, crashes from airplanes and accidents. We're all worried about that when we get on an airplane. You could still look to the mountains and say, I hope I'll be safe. So whether it's the person on the ground looking to the mountains, and that could also be not physical mountains, but spiritual or symbolizing challenges on the way. So you could imagine that the word mountains could be also signifying, I lift my eyes to God. So all of those can be read in, we're just staying with the journey right now. We're not talking about how we use it nowadays. From where will my help come? So when I have a challenge, when I'm trying to go up a mountain, when I have a mountain, an obstacle in my soul's journey, in my life, maybe I'm not physically on a journey, but we're all on a journey through our life. Where will my help come? And then it repeats itself. Oh, it takes the same word. And this is, by the way, one of something we might see in other Psalms, that the same word is repeated, right? It finishes a sentence and it's used in the next verse. My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The other thing I want to keep in mind is that this Psalm goes slowly from the general to the particular. So this person is going out and he's going out, he or she, on a journey and saying, where's my help going to come when I'm on my way? And by the way, some people say it's the mountains of Jerusalem. That's why it's the ascent to Jerusalem. Maybe I'm lifting my eyes because I've made my way to Israel and now I'm going up to Jerusalem. So at every step of the way, and we know that journeys were very fraught then. Just need to mute this person. Welcome whoever's on the phone, and welcome to Jane. My help comes from the Lord. Yeah.
You can ascend from the city of David to the Temple Mount.
So that's a short journey, but yes, you could. I haven't read anybody reading it so short. It was more about the next step coming into Jerusalem. And I believe the next Psalm 122 is when you're already in Jerusalem. But yes, anytime. As a matter of fact, when we read 130, there's something that plays into that very beautifully. So he, meaning God, will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. So why is that important to a person on a journey? Why is that important?
You need full-time protection.
Thank you, Alice. And what were you going to say, Arnie?
I was going back to when you said in the beginning what comforts you about this psalm.
Yeah.
To me, God is so infinite and I'm so small that it's easy for me to feel that God is just busy with more important things than me. But when I hear that he doesn't slumber or sleep, that makes me feel that, somewhere in there, he's going to find time for me.
Right. And that can be comforting. That's really beautiful because actually you're speaking to the words of the Psalm. God is the maker of heaven and earth. There's billions of people, many, many items to take care of. But since God never slumbers nor sleeps, therefore, maybe God will have time for me. And maybe God will have time for me because I turn to God. Maybe God is waiting for me to turn to God in order to take care of me personally or take care of whatever it is that I'm requesting.
I have one other question.
Question. Yep.
So in the beginning, when the psalmist turns his eyes to God in the mountains,
Yep.
I understand that in a sense as archaic, because to me, God is everywhere. I turn, when I have my conversations with God, I turn inward.
So do you think that's archaic, that people, when they think about God in heaven? Do you think that's archaic? Is that still? I'm asking. I think
I'm just saying
that a little bit. Like, I hear what you're saying. You turn inward. I think it's still an accepted like if I was, it's interesting that you said that, because if I was like beseeching to God, I can't imagine doing this. I imagine myself doing this. But just reading some of the messages, could lamaslo, I don't know what word that is.
I meant to say, could la ma'alot refer to flying in an airplane?
Well, not when it was written, because that was 2,000 years ago.
But for now, can we
Oh,
enjoy?
Sue is on the phone. That's amazing. Welcome, Sue. I'm excited. Great. Thank you very much, Helen. Okay, I appreciate that. So you're saying you're reinterpreting it. I get that. Karl Rosenzweig wrote, excavations of a main street in Second Temple, Jerusalem, leading up to Temple Mount goes up. Yes, Allah lands 121 would seem appropriate. Yes, but that's all of the Shir Lamalot is like that. All of them begin, and that's the title. So, Arnie, did you finish saying what you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. They're both beautiful thoughts. Can anybody else have a comment before I go on to the next verse? Okay. The next
This one
verse,
is Sheila Ama'alot.
yes, excellent. Is that Sue?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, you missed that because you couldn't hear us. So thank you. That's very astute. No, it's actually fine. That shows you're really following. Just going to write your name here so we see who you are. So this is one of 15 Shir HaMa'alot, and it's the only one that's Shir La Ma'alot. And I believe I wrote somewhere it was the Rashbam who actually has it as Shir HaMa'alot. And it's not, we don't really know why this one was Shir La Ma'alot, but it does single it out. And maybe it drew attention to it, and maybe that's part of the reason why it became popular. I don't know. Shir La Ma'alot, but it could mean whoever, all the people who said about going up, la, towards, because Shir HaMa'alot means song of the Ma'alot, the ascent, and Shir La Ma'alot means psalm to the ascent. Okay. Two. Excellent. Excellent point. I want to move on. I think we've done what we haven't done so much, and I don't remember if we did last time, from verse 1 to 4, who's speaking? Did we say who's speaking? Did I ask this group? Look at the verses from the beginning. What's the first verse? Who's speaking in the first verse?
I would David, I would imagine.
Well, if David wrote it, but whoever's in this circumstance, the narrator, maybe, can we say that? So yes, it's first person. It's the person who's going on the journey. Is that whether it's David or somebody else? We don't know exactly who wrote which one. And the second verse.
Okay. It's the same. It's singular again.
Correct. It's first person singular. Beautiful. And what about the third verse?
It's you.
So the first two verses is clear that it's the person who's on the journey, wherever he or she is. The third isn't so clear.
No.
Could be even himself talking to himself, comforting. It could be the group of people he's leaving, or she. When I say he, I don't mean only he. I mean anybody or they. And what about the fourth verse?
It's general.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It's general. It doesn't have a pronoun really.
Correct. Person, right. So the person saying it could still be the people that person is taking leave of. Let's say you imagine a person going on the journey and the person saying goodbye to his or her family. So let's say the family, the chorus, the choir could be answering. But 3 and 4 seem to be probably, it seems to be not the narrator. Now, what happens when we get to 5?
Switches to third person.
What's the third person?
Rather than
it's in second person. Hashem Shomrecha, God is your guardian, right? So it's doesn't seem like it could possibly be the first person talking to himself or herself, which is why it seems like it's kind of a tfilat haderech, that when a person is the way the traveler's journey. So I'm like imagining this whole psalm so differently from saying it in shul back and forth responsibly. It shouldn't really be back and forth. It should, in a way, it should be that the person on the bima should say the first 2 or the first 4 psukim, and the rest of the kahal should answer the last 4, maybe. It's kind of an interesting thing. Today we use it differently, but when you look at it inside, I could imagine how beautiful it is if it actually was a conversation back and forth. I'm not saying we're going to change it. We're all going to still say 121. I don't think we're going to change it. But it's interesting to look inside and realize that's probably not the way it was written. So now the third person or the group is saying, God is the one who's going to take care of you. And Hashem tzilcha al yad yeminecha. So that's the second phrase of verse 5. So who has a nice translation of that? Anybody? It's not a trick question. I really meant that. You have one, Debbie. What does it say?
This one.
Yep.
God is your shade at your right hand.
God is your shade at your right hand. What does that mean? What is your shade?
Oh, and it's capitalized.
To protect you.
To protect you. But what is the shade? It's actually, I think it's your shadow. I don't know if shade is even the right word. It could be, because tsel, when you sit in the shade of a tree, you're in the shade. What it's called batsel ha'etz. You're in the tsel. Like if you say, I'm standing in the sun, ani omedet b'shemesh, I'm standing in the shade, ani omedet batsel. So it could be the shade. And the shade means that God's right hand is like protecting. But it can also mean that tsel is also your shadow. That's another way of understanding it. Now, if God is your shade, that's protection. If God is your shadow, what does that mean? Sorry, I'm yelling. I feel like I'm yelling at Debbie. Sorry, Debbie.
God keeps following you. He doesn't desert. It's not just one location.
It's not what? That's right. It's not just one location. You could imagine it as a traveling umbrella. God is always your tail. So like having a kind of invisible parasol, and an umbrella and whatever it is. But you could also imagine how beautiful. Isn't there a book I have, or a poem? I have my little shadow. It goes in and out with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know the rest of it. But your shadow not only is with you all the time, it mimics what you do. Well, it does what you do. It can't help it, obviously. Ellen, did you want to add to that?
It's a part of you.
It's actually a part of you. That's true. It's actually, you can't actually disconnect.
So it goes into what Arnie was saying before, and that God is in you, not
nice. Arnie, did you hear that?
Yeah.
She added to what you said. She's saying that's actually written in the words. It is actually a part of the psalm. That's gorgeous. That is really gorgeous.
What is this at your right hand, though?
Yafet. So what is your right hand? What does that symbolize?
Dominant hand.
I'm a lefty, by the way. I'll probably say it like every time, because I'm a lefty. So you're also a lefty? Oh, we got 2 lefties right here. So, but it doesn't, got more lefties. Excellent. All lefties, raise your hand. Your left hand.
Arnie, you're a lefty.
Arnie's a lefty. We got lots of lefties. There you go. We got lots of lefties. But in the Torah and in the Tanakh, the right hand symbolizes, as Alice, I think you said, the dominant hand. So it doesn't really matter. Like, it's okay. I'm willing to concede that God, like my right hand is actually my left hand. That's okay. But it symbolizes your koach, your strength. And usually your dominant hand is your creative hand, your artistic hand. It's the one you write with. It's the one you throw. It's the one you do things with. And it symbolizes your might. And I would say even more. It's a symbol of what you do with your values and what you do with your life. And this is another way to understand this pasuk. I'm sorry, when I get excited, I raise my voice. I am not yelling at anybody here. I'm excited by the thought, because one commentary had such a beautiful idea that if you are kind and if you give tzedakah, and if you do kind things and you're benevolent and compassionate, and you move in this world in a kind, thoughtful way, doing mitzvot, you could argue that's maybe slightly separate, that's also part of it, then God will, according to this pasuk, give you back the way you move in this world. Because your shadow is an intricate, and it's you can't sever it, right? It's unseverable from your body, unless of course you're Peter Pan. Because from what I remember from Peter Pan, when he had to sew the shadow onto Peter Pan, which I thought was so gorgeous as a child, and I would imagine it and try to figure out how to do it. Never worked. But
So you're saying he has.
so a little louder so people can hear
Okay,
you.
That you have to earn the protection then, in a way?
It's an interesting thought. Well, say more about that. How do you, I hear you, but can you read it into the words?
No, you were saying just that if you
No,
do good things.
No, it's more that it is a reflection of what you do. If your right hand gives tzedakah, then your shadow is going to give tzedakah too. If your right hand is tight-fisted, or if it represents maybe doing inappropriate things. I just heard of a person, doesn't matter, who got connected somehow to somebody I care about. And this person is sadly an addict and cannot help him or herself to do the things that they do that are bad. I mean, they need to check in to someplace and get rid of that addiction so they can move in the world in a positive way. And there was like even an intervention with them, because not with them, but with the person they were connected with, to say, this person is not in control of his or her actions, because addiction can do that. So, so that's a person who's not moving in the best way in this world, needs to really rectify the way they move in this world. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? It's more, this isn't so much, I mean, it's a beautiful thought, what you said, Debbie, and maybe that's somewhere else. I feel like that could be the sale of the shade. Like, when do I earn shade? And by the way, we're going to see what that shade could mean. What can that shade actually be interpreted into? Like, I always like to say, how do you put work clothes on that shade, right? It doesn't actually mean you're walking around with a little invisible umbrella or a little invisible parasol, but we're going to see in a moment what that could mean. I think that if we interpret it as shadow, then it's just whatever you do, that's how God, hopefully, will be with you. Now, some people may not feel that way. Some people may feel, I'm a good person, or this person's a good person, and they're not getting great things happen in this world. So I have no answer for that, as many of us don't. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a kind of almost unanswerable question. I still think we need to be good people just for the sake of who we are and how we move in this world. That's like a, high value for me.
I have another question. Is it
Yes,
sort of like,
just make sure everybody hears it.
when the Jews were wandering in the desert and God was a cloud over them.
I was thinking of that. Yes. So let's go now to what a shade. Good. Hold that thought. We're going to get into that. That popped into my head as well. So Debbie brought up something very, very beautiful. I just want to make sure we finish with the shadow before we move to the shade. And Arnie wrote that he loves 122. Everybody here gets to request a psalm. So we will put that into the requests. And after 121 and 130, because that's what I prepared. And those are the ones we've been saying. And the 130 is like amazing. I mean, it was amazing. It just totally changed my view, but I don't know if we won't get to it today. Okay. I know I try to rush and, get to more material, but it's so much more gorgeous when we allow the conversation to develop. So now let's move. Let's go to shade. So al yad yaminecha, if you're going to have a shade by your right hand, why would it be a shade? Remember, we moved away from shadow. We spoke about shadow. Let's put shadow aside, unless somebody has something to say. I love the shadow. I happen to think the shadow is just a gorgeous way of talking about it. But now let's move to a different commentary, because I want to tell you, at different times in your life, different ways of understanding this psalm and every psalm could speak to you differently. And that's why it's nice to learn different commentaries, because then at different times it speaks to, because when we started learning about Tehillim, I said that one of the ways to think of Tehillim, I mean, they're so universal, right? Even non-Jews use it and we use it. When you don't have words, you often turn to poetry. And we have poetry that's part of our liturgy, or it's part of our canon. So that's where Psalms are so helpful, even though it's very hard to read the hard ones, but even this, the simpler ones have so much richness in them. So we'll probably be saying them for the rest of our lives. And it's good if you can find ways to connect with them. So now let's move to it from it being a shadow to it being a shade. So a shade is a protection. Any thoughts about why it might be by your right hand? Why would you need a shade by your right hand? Elise, did you want to say something? You're muted though, and we don't see you. So when you unmute, we'll hear you. Anybody else have a thought until Elise unmutes?
I mean, that was my original question. I know that the
That was-
right hand is the dominant hand, except for you.
And many others on this call.
And
But
many
that's not
others.
a- right,
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Felice,
yeah,
what'd you
I was
think?
thinking, yes, that maybe that's the hand that you would hold the umbrella with, because, you know, like to protect you, give you the protection.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what you just created for me?
Do you use your left
Created
hand
for
when
me-
you are
one
holding?
second.
Okay.
One second, before you go on, you created for me an image of us being tethered to God, right? That's so beautiful. And that goes to what Debbie said. Well, you said a few things already. So I'm trying to keep them all in my head. Don't forget them. That the idea that maybe we have to turn to God for God to give us shade. And that's the tethering, right? That's the connection. When we have a connection to, I got goosebumps. When we have a connection to God. 1 second, Alice. 1 second. Just finish.
Okay.
1 second. 1 second. Both of you. And I want to hear both of you. We are going to finish the psalm today, right? And then Debbie moved on to this other idea that the protection can look like so many different things. It can look like the Amud HaEsh, the pillar of fire, the Amud HaAnan, the cloud, which moved with Bnei Israel in the dead. This is a physical protection. I think we can probably find ways to talk about spiritual protection, but we'll start with physical. Felice, finish your thought.
Yes, I was going to just say, it reminded me of the book of Jonah, when Hashem makes the, you know, he's complaining, and then he makes the shadow, and then he takes it away. And then he takes it away, and then, and it's mist.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that speaks to what Debbie suggested, that we need to believe in God and turn to God to deserve the protection.
And it could be taken away also. The same way we could get it, it could be taken away.
But we're praying for it.
It should not, it should be, it should be with us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alice, what do you want to add?
What I wanted to say that maybe the shade, by having shade, allows people to perform, achieve using their dominant hand, while if they're in the sun, it may be a lot harder. So allowing achievements to occur.
Achieve. I didn't hear the word achievements.
Achievements.
Yes. So what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm right. It feels like instead of your hand being so busy taking care of making you safe, if God is doing it, you're more available to do more things in your life. Is that sort of what you meant?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What an amazing idea. Whew. Wow. That's really, really, really gorgeous. Anybody else have a thought they want to add? It's really just beautiful thoughts. So if we go to the next pasuk, it continues this theme. How should God be our shade? I mean, this is one way of looking at it. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka. During the day, we wouldn't get sunstroke. The sun, right? This is physical. So this is true of travelers. First of all, they probably didn't have umbrellas. Yeah, 1 second, Robert. 1 second. Robert and Malka, 1 second. And I imagine we could think of perhaps ways to interpret it, not physically. And then Yareach Balayla. So some people actually at the time believed in something about the moon's rays hitting you and being, this was not real as far as I know. But you can also understand the moonlight. When you walk in the moonlight, what is it? It's darkness. It's stumbling over things. It's animals, wild animals. We know that often things happen at night because people can't see. So they won't see if there are crimes that happen, for example. Robert, what did you want to say?
I recall being in Israel during the summer, in July, after leaving the hotel, going up on top, and I felt stupid. I couldn't coordinate correctly, and then I realized I was having a heat stroke.
Yep.
I need to find an umbrella, sit down under it, buy some water, and eat some ice cream.
Every time I go to Israel this summer And I walk,
Yeah.
if I go to Ra'anana and do all these errands, I forget how hot the sun is and I don't drink enough. And that night, almost always, I get dehydrated. And I'm like,
Yeah.
again, you did it. Like, why didn't you remember? You get dehydrated every time. Every time I would get dehydrated. That also happened when I went to a campsite in America. It's not only in Israel, but in Israel, it happened when I was running around Ra'anana. Yes, 100%, 100%. And if we're talking about something coming to Israel, it's pretty hot in Israel in the summer, at least, not so much in the winter. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Any other thoughts? Okay,
Yeah, I have one other thought.
Yes,
The
Alice.
ability to travel at night may save your life, especially.
I'm
yeah, I was
sorry,
thinking
what?
the
To travel at night? Say it again.
ability to travel at night in the darkness with the moon allows you to travel and not be detected, maybe.
Can I tell you that's beautiful? Do you know what you reminded me of? When I was a little girl, I used to read a lot of books about Harriet Tubman. I just found her to be a fascinating character. I have to say that for many, many years, I didn't know what an underground railroad was. And I thought there was like a railroad that went underground. Like I just didn't understand it because they never explained it in the books. They just said she used the Underground Railroad, but she used to travel at night and the North Star guided her. And I found that amazing. Like for me, that was she was such a symbol of courage and the fact that she could travel at night. So is that what you meant, Alice, that you could?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking also of Jews escaping in the Holocaust, couldn't do it in daylight, but had to do it at night.
And if it's hot in the day, it's easier to travel at night. That's also
Right.
true. It's
Right.
too hot. Yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thoughts. Great, thank you. Any other thoughts before we go? Oh, Lance, yes, what do you want to say?
I hate to say this, but I put in the chat an article from a rabbi, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, which undermines and subverts virtually every word and every thought all of us have had in the world to this point. It
Does
is
this have
the
to
most
do with this
most disturbing article
Wait a
I have
minute,
ever
does it
read in
have
my
to,
life.
wait, did you put it in here because it has to do with this psalm?
It is a critique of this song.
Okay, great,
It
thank
is
you.
a satire, as an attack on this
We're
song.
not going to bring it into the space, but if everybody's welcome to read it. Thank you, Lance, appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Lance makes sure we don't just think in one way. That I am so grateful. Like, open your minds, think in other ways. Okay, we're going to go to verse 7 and 8. And let's again imagine who's the one who's reading it, who's saying it. The Lord will guard you. Hashem yishmorcha mikol ra. God will guard you, the Lord, from all evil, all harm. Yishmor et nafshecha. By the way, nefesh, today it means soul, but that's not the way it was used in the Tanakh. It just means life, the life force. Nafshecha, I think it's even by, I think it might have been used by Cain and Hevel, I could be wrong. But anyway, we should just know that this is literally talking about guarding your life. Although today, I just want to add one thing, and I don't know if this speaks to people, but it speaks to me because, you know that I've had a lot of mental illness, thankfully not for me, but people I'm very, very, very close to. And my sister Gila, who I was very, very, very close to, died from depression by suicide. And, to me, that's Yishmar Nafshecha, that God did guard her soul for the first 54 years until she succumbed to it. But I'm imagining her journey in the world and how she stumbled, which is why I feel like Phyllis said this literally at the end of last time, and it really stayed with me, your comment. I mean, I think that was your comment, that it can be about life's journey. Is that what you said? Somebody's making noise. I just have to mute. I don't know where that's at. Guys, ladies, teaching a class. It's okay. It's okay. Phyllis, can you repeat what you said? Because I'm not sure I got the words exactly right, but that's what resonated and stayed with me.
Well, I'm not sure exactly of those words, but I wanted to add to something that I've been thinking as I'm looking at this, is also that we're starting out and it's the first two stanzas are very personal. It's I, it's my, and then the next two stanzas, it's like a transition to what I'm thinking and hoping, or more thinking that God does in terms of protection. And the last four make it much more universal. It's what
Which last four, 5, 6, 7,
4
8?
stanzas going from 5 to the end of what we hope God will be doing for not just us, but for everyone, which is why I think this works so well when we read it in shul every week, because it's so universal. It's thy that he's going to protect, not just me. I'm not just looking out for myself, but I'm looking at.
Oh, very nice. Oh, that's beautiful. So you're saying it expands it.
Yeah.
Because you can also look that it contracts it, that the first one is about God, maker of heaven and earth, but it contracts it like you shouldn't stumble physically because it is in the second person singular. But you can look at it the opposite way and say, actually, it's something we wish for everybody in the world.
It moves on, and that it's not only a personal journey, but that it's also the feeling that we hope will be for mankind, for God looking out for all of us.
Yes, so thank you. So then in that case, I remember when I asked who's saying each verse. So given your interpretation, because it's written in second person singular, Hashem yishmor tzeitecha, God should guard your going, uvoecha, and your coming. Maybe every person is saying it to every person. Like if we all say it together, oh, it's gorgeous. Like I'm saying it to you and Debbie's saying it to me, and I'm saying it to you, Lance, and you're saying it to me, and you're saying it to Sue, and you're saying it, like I'm looking at all the people on the screen. Like if we all said it together, which we can't because it's Zoom, I don't think we'll have time necessarily to take another comment, Lance. I'm sorry, just 1 second. I do want to finish it, and so give me a few moments. I love that idea. It makes it feel so interwoven. I love the idea of everybody being a mosaic. I've always loved that. Everybody kind of interwoven, at least from our hearts. We may not literally be interwoven in everybody's lives because that's physically impossible. There's too many people. But we can be interwoven in our caring. And if we made this universal, then God should keep you from all evil. I mean, that is hard with people who have done harm to us. So I would say that's very hard to go that far. But it's a beautiful thought. And I want to go to the last pasuk. Hashem yishmor tzeitecha vo'echa me'ata ve'ad olam. God should guard your going and coming. Now that could be you're going and coming back, right? If you're doing a kind of a round trip. But it can also be you're going and coming to a new place. That speaks to me a little bit more. Wherever you're going to and coming to perhaps a new place, first of all, the dangers that are fraught along the way, and sometimes entering a new space is hard till you get to know people, till you feel the lay of the land. Is my new job going to work? My new community? I mean, it could be a new, I would say if it's a medical journey, then the going and coming feels very good because going and please come back healthier, stronger, better than you were before. So that feels very beautiful. But I think in different situations, you can understand the going and coming in slightly different ways. So I'm actually not taking any more comments. I apologize. You can put them in the chat because I have to leave, but I am going to sing again the way I love that. There are a few songs, by the way, from this particular psalm. There's, I'm going to have to save all these chats because there's so many beautiful messages that I haven't had an opportunity. Is there a way for me to save it? How do I save it? There must be a way. 1 second. I don't know. I think it does save it. I hope it does. Thank you, everybody. I'm just so, I love that everybody's writing and I don't have time to address them all. I want you to think about them. You can always write to me privately as well, and we can share it with the group. But I'm going to sing this to you because I love it so much. You may not know it so well, but you heard it last time. You heard it this time. That's twice already. Shir lama'alot esa einai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri ezri me'im Hashem osei shamayim va'aretz al yiten lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha hine lo yanum ולא ישן שומר ישראל. השם שומרך, השם צילך, על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. Hashem yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha me'ata v'ad olam. Shir lama'alot. It continues, goes back. I have so much more to think about the next time I hear or read it. And I'm so grateful to everyone because this is exactly what I was looking for, to find the beauty and more understanding. Especially, that's why I started with this psalm, because we say it twice a day in the shul, we say it on Shabbat. And, you know, I'm just so grateful that we had this conversation. I invite everybody back next week when we will learn Psalm 130, which is another one that is said very, very, very commonly. And again, it might surprise you that it is not necessarily for a person who's sick. I gave away the punchline. But that's okay, because if we use it in that way, and maybe together, we'll figure out why it works to do that. There's so much more we could say about 121.
Are you going to be able to read the comments? And you can address them next week.
Oh, I think I can. Let me just see.
Is there a way to
Copy
them?
quote. No, so there used to be. That's why I can't. I have to find out. Because if I try to, well, I will copy it and put it in. So let me start with that. Copying it.
Hey, Bracha, if
Yeah.
go to chat, there are 3 dots. You click on more.
Where is that? That's what I don't see. One second. Maybe it's just missing. Wait. Okay,
I have
chat.
my chat right underneath my participants, and I have an X. I have
Under participants.
yeah, my
Yeah.
participant chat are like half the column, and then under that
Nope, that's not, I don't have it there. Let me try it on the
don't
chat.
have
One
3
second.
dots. Don't have
I
3
used
dots.
to have it. That's why I'm so confused. Wait, here we go. 3. Save chat. Go, Helen.
But where is it saved to?
So that's a very good question. That I can't help you. It's somewhere on your computer and I will
Okay.
somehow find it.
Okay.
All right,
All
guys.
right.
Take good care of yourselves.
Thank you so
You
much.
Too. Thank you.
Thank you.